Kitco Mining's special coverage of Mines and Money in Miami, Florida is brought to you by Gold Shore.
Hello and welcome to Kitco Mining with me, Paul Harris, here at the 2025 Mines and Money Conference in Miami in Florida. We are talking gold mining in the USA. And joining me today to do this is Kelly Malcolm, CEO of Borealis Mining. Kelly, welcome to Kitco.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. Lovely to be in Miami as well.
It is very nice, isn't it? Borealis is an emerging gold producer in Nevada. You're also a very young, very new gold producer in that you did your initial public offering. You went public in August 2024, so you're barely 6 months old as a public company. Congratulations there. Your timing seems to be perfect in that you've come out of the gate, gold's flying high, it's now at 2,900 and something US dollars per ounce. How was 2024 for you?
Amazing. It was transformational. We took quite a long time getting public. We raised a lot of capital with some great shareholders during 2024. Rob McEwen, Eric Sprott included in that list, as well as a number of institutions. Brought the company public, and like you said, gold magically it started moving up in the right direction. Like when we first started looking at this asset, gold was in the $1,650s, $1,700 range. We've had a huge increase in the pricing, which dramatically and materially affects our operations as we look to resume production.
It has been a tough few years for junior explorers. So a successful IPO, as you mentioned, you got some really big names into the story. How did that come about? How easy, how difficult was that to get this investor support that you have got?
Good question. So what we did, we got the asset, we put our board together following the asset purchase, and then on that, we started building our shareholder register. It wasn't extremely difficult because we had a really good asset and a really good team, but raising money in a tough market is never an easy endeavor. But we just recently announced a brokered bought deal financing, which was very, very well received. So money's there for good projects and good teams, and I think we're certainly one of them.
With all due respect, Kelly, you're relatively young, so perhaps you haven't experienced some of the more difficult times. Has that been an advantage through this process? You haven't experienced a lot of the really sort of tough times, maybe, so you're going in sort of, really sort of fresh and focused, and I can conquer the world.
I don't disagree with you. I think one of the fun things, speaking to different fund managers and institutions, is there's actually a willingness to invest in younger management teams for that level of optimism that we've not necessarily been as jaded as some of the more experienced folks out there. I think optimism and enthusiasm is contagious, and the fund managers would certainly agree with that for the most part.
Well, it's been one of my criticisms for a long period of time in this sector, listening to presentations, attending events such as this. A lot of CEOs do not sound excited about their projects. And if they don't sound excited, how can they excite someone to write them a check?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, I am excited.
I can tell. Now, you've got a board that many junior companies would die for, including Tony McCooch, who's also chair of Discovery Silver, just done a big transaction, and Kinross Gold founder Bob Buchanan. Wow, how did that come about?
Connections. We know some good people. The early investors in the story have great relationships, as do I, and it just kind of grew organically. It was a pretty good process. Went through the company, went through the deal, went through transaction, and the board members just started growing, and we ended up with a very, very, very strong group of people.
Now, we are at an investor event, Mines and Money, here in Miami. How receptive are people? What is resonating more with them? Is it the fact you're producing gold in the United States? Is it the fact you've got some big names behind the stock? Is it the fact you've got some big names on your board, or something else? Yes.
It's all those things, but it's also our business plan too, which is we intend to continue consolidation. So we announced our first, so we went public with the Borealis main project, but we also announced an acquisition of Gold Bull Resources, and we intend to keep that up. And one of the themes, and you hear it if you listen to the keynote speech today, common themes at many of these conferences is consolidation is very important, largely because it puts together a number of different assets that are not necessarily financeable on their own. and puts them under a bigger wheelhouse. So that part of our thesis is very well received. Also, the fact that we're permitted and able to produce gold and gearing up to resume production also resonates very, very loudly.
In terms of the consolidation, Rob McEwen, one of your shareholders, one of your investors, he's obviously running McEwen Mining. They have a gold mine in Nevada. Is there potential future hookup there, one way or the other?
If there was, I couldn't talk about it, but maybe we'll see.
You could talk amongst friends.
No, I can't say anything about that right now.
Okay, but seriously, in terms of your ability to continue consolidate, is that in Nevada? Are you starting to look further afield?
So our focus is Nevada, absolutely. We would look a little bit further afield, but I think for synergies, for simplicity, Nevada and maybe the surrounding states would be the place that we are looking. And there's so many beautiful projects out there that are underloved or underappreciated by the market. And Gold Bull and Sandman is a perfect example of that. That was trading for $5 million. And the asset is spectacular. And it's just when these smaller projects are in a public company, they can be discarded by investors. And I think there's plenty of opportunities out there for a huge disconnect between what's in the ground and what the market attributes to those projects.
So are you looking more at projects that you can develop, or are you looking at projects that are perhaps already in production?
I would love to get something closer to or in production. That's certainly a mandate that I've been tasked to see if we can do. But minimum PEA level studies. We want to be sure that we're not trying to consolidate ounces for the sake of consolidation. We're looking to consolidate projects that we can then develop, and the idea is we can build a much larger company with these smaller individual assets that have low capex, much lower risk in terms of both financial risk, environmental risk, permitting risk, and you diversify a bit with a multitude of different assets. So a little bit unique in the industry right now. So that's what we're targeting.
Can we talk about the whirlwind that is Donald Trump, the US president? He's been very busy in his first month in office, and that has included things that impact the mining sector in many, many different ways. One of his things has been on US agencies, US federal agencies. Obviously in mining, key ones are the US Forest Service, the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, and the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. What impact, as a gold mine operator in the United States, what impact are you seeing from some of these initiatives?
So we've heard a lot of rumblings. I've not seen anything yet. Our Borealis mine is permitted within the USFS, so we're in the Forest Service land. I know there's some sweeping job cuts that are happening there. I don't know what that does to the permitting process. What I hear on the BLM front is that the permitting process should be streamlined in the coming months, which could be very, very positive. It's not an overly onerous process. It's just that timelines aren't necessarily clear when you're looking to permit a project in Nevada, which is it's number one for a reason. It's permittable. It's just the timelines aren't always very definitive.
Now, the US is very litigious, and I understand that many mining executives, when they're sort of planning their project timelines, when they permit a project, they include X number of years afterwards to go through and clear litigation processes. With potential streamlining of some of the permitting processes, is there a danger that streamlining will mean doing less rigorous work and therefore potentially opening up more potential for litigation?
I would hope not. I don't think that that's the way the mining industry should be trending. I know that one of the delays in, let's talk about federal permitting, is that the federal agencies themselves are open to litigation upon granting something, so there's a lot of boxes to tick. And yeah, I'm certainly not, and I don't think the industry is looking to streamline and sidestep important environmental or social issues, but I think if there's kind of a checklist that works across the board, that would be very well received and expedite things quite a bit. Instead of getting to the end of the process and realizing, oh no, we have to go do X, Y, Z and replant X, Y, Z, etc. I think a streamlined and simplified process would be a positive thing.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about Borealis itself. What's the work program for this year? What are some of your goals there?
Sure. We're in the midst of closing the financing. The main use of proceeds for me will be to start our stockpile crushing exercise. So we've got a stockpile of 330,000 tons containing roughly half a gram per ton of oxide ore that we intend to crush, put on our leach pad, and irrigate and extract the gold from. And that's my first and main objective, is to get that going, because that, in my eyes, is the baby step that we would take to get into production, which again, I don't have a clear timeline for, but I'm hoping could be towards the end of 2025, and actually resume blasting and hauling and mucking out ore and resuming Borealis. As gold is running here, it's really intriguing, the fact that we're able to actually exploit from the property.
Well, what are the key things you have to do to get the mine back into sort of mining operation?
Very little. We've submitted what's called a minor modification to our permit, just adjusting some of the pit outlines, but this is fully permitted, fully built. Really, it's a very simple exercise. This minor modification. We're looking to permit some additional areas on the property that aren't within our permitted footprint, but that's for a few years down the line. So really nothing. It's mobilization of contractors and finalize the engineering and the designs that we would like to utilize for extraction. So it's pretty near term.
Now, you mentioned earlier in our conversation about the acquisition of Gold Bull Resources. How and when and where will that fit into the picture?
So that is at the PEA level. There's a 2023 preliminary economic assessment that was done that honestly is spectacular, and I urge people to look at it because the numbers are really excellent. That needs a feasibility study. It needs a little bit of metallurgical work to validate the work that Newmont had done in the past, and on top of that, it needs permitting. So if we were to start that process, if the transaction, it's pending still, by the way, for forward-looking, but if we were to start that process, let's say in the middle of March, post-completion of that transaction, you're looking at about a 3-year process, so 2028 before gold would be coming out of the ground from Sandman.
Okay, that perhaps leads nicely into sort of the final question. Borealis, very much a gold growth story. So where would you like the company to be in 5 years' time?
Good question. So I would certainly like to be in a long-lived, consistent revenue-generating state, ideally in a free cash flow-generating state, depending on how aggressive we are with M&A. We'd like to, in 5 years, I'd like to see us producing a minimum of 150,000 ounces per annum. I think that's achievable through a combination of M&A and drilling. And I'd like to see us known as one of the mid-tier miners in Nevada and on the TSX venture across the board.
Excellent. Well, Kelly Malcolm, I wish you the best of luck with that, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
And we have much more to come from the 2025 Mines and Money Conference here in Miami in Florida. So hit that subscribe button. I'm Paul Harris, and this is Kitco Mining.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of Mines and Money in Miami, Florida is brought to you by Gold Shore.